Hello, all. Thank you for joining our live today for Shop Talk Live. My name is Rick. I'm also known as Rick's 2 Cents, along with my fellow co-host Steve from Steve Makes Everything.
Hi.
Andy from Andy Bird Builds.
Hello.
And Roger from Roger Shop. And we're here for live questions and answers on laser engravings, CNCs, 3D printers, you name it. So it looks like we got Clayton already in the live, who was our proud winner of last week's laser.
Clayton lives here.
He lives in Hawaii. Beautiful paradise. As people pointed out, looks like Roger belongs.
I'm heading west tomorrow, but I won't be quite that far. Oh, I got to keep up with the shirts. My wife picks these out, so I got to wear them.
Hey, there's a new name.
Oh. Hello, Deborah. Where are you joining us from?
What time is it in Hawaii? Like noon? Like, is it 1:30 in Hawaii right now? 2:30?
It's pretty early compared to me, anyway.
South Carolina.
1 o'clock or something. 1:30.
New Beach, California. Jack in the shop. Hey, Jack. Yeah, you know what? I like what Clayton actually did. It made my job a lot easier because at first, Steve, I was on your page looking. I was on Roger's page, and I was like, what video did he like or comment or whatever? So he's like, hey, bro, I shared them all on my Facebook page. Boom. I'm like, oh, nice. Because
awesome.
I can see what click it, then go back. So if I was commenting on you guys' pages, or hearting, that was just me acknowledging that I did actually check.
Oops. Okay, I'm not clicking anymore.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I have a question for you guys. So as we're acquiring these skill sets and as you're building these skill sets, is there anyone you're kind of patching the torch to, or anyone that you're kind of mentoring, you know, whether it be an employee, whether it be a family member, or anyone you kind of like want to teach your skill set to?
Yes and yes. So a couple of local people here for sure. There's another guy. He's actually a customer of mine, but it's just he's down in Florida, and it's just I just keep trying to convince him to just buy a laser, right? And I can help you, and I'll do his designs for him because he's totally green on a lot of this stuff, and so I'm trying to get him to buy a laser, and then I'll help him, right? And it's one of these times when you just want to wean somebody off of being a customer because they have their own capability, and part of the job is to skill people up, right, to the point where they don't need you anymore. And that's what I'm trying to do with him.
Yeah.
Angela said, my husband watches me and asks questions. Now he wants to learn. There you go.
Good.
What about you, Andy?
Yeah, a lot of people come to mind. So I'll share a couple of them. I've got a high schooler that works on Mondays and Fridays, and a video idea I have is teaching him how to use the CNC. This is on my list. He knows nothing, so I thought it would be really, really neat to, one, teach him a skill set, right? Just basic operation, but two, like, to challenge myself to teach it to somebody that knows, like, in person, that knows absolutely, like, he doesn't even know XYZ. I mean, he would get it, but he doesn't even know anything, right? And so, but then the other person is my wife. She actually does most of the laser stuff. She operates the laser more than I do. But teaching her what I know and the skill set that I've developed, it's been over the last couple of years, but it's still progressing too. And so that's been cool. Yeah. Just don't burn down the house, honey.
Can you both work in the shop at the same time, you and your wife, without fighting with each other?
We can. I know, right? I get that question a lot. We actually can. I'm
asking for a selfish reason, but go ahead.
Yeah, we actually can. And we have our moments, don't get me wrong, but it is we're also the same people that can ride in the car for 8 hours on a trip and just not and not listen to the radio and just talk the whole time. I know that's rare. So
yeah, I can drive in the car with my wife as long as I have GPS. If she's holding the map, we're going to argue.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Because I ended up, we were driving down to Boston one time, and I ended up in that little town where they shot Deliverance. It was a little uncomfortable.
So what about you, Roger?
Well, I am trying to convince her to retire and become my business manager.
I don't really tutor anybody.
She's more organized.
There's some local people here that have found me through YouTube that, because they're local, they have come over and I've taught them some of the ins and outs of the basic use of a laser 3D printer. There's been a couple of gals that wanted to learn how to use a heat press, but otherwise I don't really seek that out. I am just way too busy.
Did you say breast?
Press.
Press. I thought that's how to use their breasts.
Heat press.
Heat press.
I was like, what kind of classes are you teaching, Roger?
This channel's going downhill fast, man.
Trying to compete with Steve's OnlyFans or what?
Well, my wife does wonder what I do up here in the loft all the time. So
if I see a black couch in the background, I know what's going on. I had asked that question because someone asked me yesterday, because on Facebook, I post a lot of pictures of my son actually helping me. My son's 4. And he said to me, "Can I ask you a question?" I'm like, "Sure." He's like, "Are those stage photos? Or is your son actually helping you?" I said, "No, man." He's like, I'd have to argue to him not to, right? Like, I want to help. I want to help. I want to help. And he's like, "So he's really like doing all that with you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Wow." And he was surprised, and I was like, my father didn't give me a choice, right? So I give my son a choice. You want to help me? And he does. But my father didn't give me, my father's in the trades. He's just like, "You're going to work today." You know what I mean? It was a chore to me. But, it's different. My father was a builder, built houses. So, but yeah, I kind of want to pass that torch on to my son. My dad said, "I didn't teach you this because I want you to build houses. I taught you so in your own house, if you have to fix something, do something, repair something, you can do it on your own house." He actually didn't want me to do what he did at all. But yeah, I was just interested if you guys had the same type of feeling towards teaching someone or passing that torch or passing the passion or teaching a skill set to someone else. Andy Bird, do you have a new shop? I saw your inlay CNC video. I saw it too, and it looks like you're not in your garage. I did see that video as well today. I
do have a new shop. I haven't shared much content on it. I'm going to do a video, but I've been taking clips along the way. But yeah, I'm slowly rolling out. You'll see just transitioning. The shop isn't set up yet. This the new CNC is set like as you saw it in the video. Yeah. But yeah, I this was a 14-month project. The shop I'm sitting in. So what the video you saw was right back there. That's where it happened. And we broke ground on this building. Well, actually more than 15 months ago now. So
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I saw that inlay and then you put the inlay in and flushing it out with the 2 different colors, I was like, "Oh, that's dope." I was like, whoa, what is he doing? And then when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, wow, that's yeah."
Yeah, Nick.
I don't think I've seen anyone do that.
Nick from Bro in Wood YouTube channel. I don't know if you've ever seen his YouTube channel. If you haven't, you should check it out. He does amazing inlays, and he came down for the day and helped me move that CNC, and he does really great work. So that's all him. He is the inlay master.
I've never seen anyone do that. I've never seen anyone do that.
So you didn't use the V-Carve inlay feature in V-Carve 12?
I have not used it yet. No, I haven't.
Because you wouldn't need him if you did.
No.
Yeah. Have you seen his work?
I think I've watched a few of his videos. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a little obsessed with inlay just because like there are people who are just complete artists doing inlay.
And that's him.
And
he is.
And it's like, they go, yeah, I trained for 25 years doing this. And, and then I'll whip something off on the CNC and go, does it look like this? And they get all crusty with you because it's like, I'm sure whoever designed the inlay tool paths for VCarve 12 also did this for 12 years, but not me.
Yeah. I haven't asked him about that tool. He's passionate about that. That's all he does. That's his art. That's his skill. He gets really passionate about making those designs. And so he's slowly teaching me. He gets down to give you an idea on how obsessed he is with quality. He measures the tip of all the bits that he gets with micrometers. Yeah, that's the word, right?
Yeah.
And because he swears that these the tips of these new bits, he buys a Mana. It's like it's a V bit. I forgot what angle, but it's a Mana bit, and he measures every one and sets the parameters, the inlay parameters for each bit.
For that exact bit.
Yeah.
Well, that's a little over the top.
Yeah.
There's a method to his madness, and it's working. I saw a couple of videos. Actually, the first 3 times I saw him was on your channel.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's why you don't need to measure, because you're going to flood the hole with glue anyway, and the glue will fill up all the holes.
And that's what he says. He's no glue lines. That's his. He doesn't want any glue lines.
Yeah, when you see the finished product, that's when I was like,
yeah, I did an inlay with it was actually my company logo, and
let's see it.
I don't have it now. It became a piece of firewood. It was just a test, and it was probably the best inlay that I've personally ever seen. And I, of course, had no input other than to put my logo on a canvas and say, do the tool paths. And it did a really awesome job. And
Nice
at that, you have these epiphanies every now and again when you play with technology, right? And you go, this is so awesome that all the people who spent all this time doing inlays, they're now like the horsewhip builders, right? Like it's like, and it's still an art. Like there's no disputing it. Like if I had to do this by hand, it would take me a lifetime.
Oh yeah.
But,
Roger, you got any upcoming videos or anything crazy coming up?
Geez, I've been in a flood of videos.
Yeah, I've been posting quite a few of them here. Just posted one before we come on live tonight on how to clean a honeycomb board using dihydrogen oxide.
Nice one.
Now, when you talk about honeycomb, you're talking about the laser or the bees?
No, the lasers, honeycomb board.
Because he is a beekeeper, if you don't know. So that was a fair question.
You got to be specific when you have both, right?
And having a little fun with the dihydrogen oxide. Do you know what that is?
No.
Peroxide.
Dihydrogen, H2O. Water.
Okay.
Water. Yeah, Clayton was all over that in the comments. He said water.
Yep. You have to have a chemical background for that. I was kind of a chemistry nerd
I'm a
back then.
software guy, so
I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I use I use a power washer.
Yeah, that pressure washer is water. Yeah.
I just don't clean them.
Mine's just all brown, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
Well,
Well-
it's kind of like it means I've been using it.
To be fair, that was the first time I cleaned it in 2 years. So
Okay.
Well, when it starts popping and catching, the cryptos's catching fire underneath and burning the back of my projects, it's time to clean
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
I hear you.
So
I'm not saying I probably shouldn't. I'm just saying I haven't.
I did a video today, released a video today and a video yesterday, and probably one tomorrow.
Nice.
Well, I had to
Great,
do.
so
Well,
you learned
Roger
it
did
from
one
Roger's
too.
video.
The longer Nano Pro, and it was all of these things. Like they send you stuff in advance, and then you do the video, and you just kind of have to let it sit there until their clock ticks, right?
Yeah.
And then it's all a flurry. And this particular one, they were trying to get as many YouTubers to release their videos at 9 a.m. yesterday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. And I pushed mine out. I didn't see Rogers, but I just did a search for it, and there was like 20 of them there all of a sudden. It was just, and then today was the We Create Vista, which a whole bunch of us kind of jumped the gun because it's not supposed to, those videos weren't supposed to be released until midnight tonight. So I know V watched it, but if you watch that video, you got a real sneak peek, because I'm
All
sure
right.
we're all going to be in trouble tomorrow.
This comment is for Roger. Willie says, my mom loves Roger's videos.
Uh-oh.
I think she's an 82-year-old Canadian living in the North, crushing on Roger.
Uh-oh.
Hey.
Ciao, Roger.
It's got to be the shirt.
Now, I go for older women. My wife's actually older than me. So
Roger says, "Bring it."
Yeah. He said, Daddy needs a new truck.
I love it.
Yeah,
Yes,
he's got a
Corby wants
dually
the
next
video,
week.
too.
You know
It's
what
good. It's
happened?
very good. It's very good to have Corby back. He was sick there
Yeah.
for a while, so hopefully he's feeling better.
Yeah, you know, I've been turning down a lot the bulk
too.
of the reviews that's given to me.
Yeah,
You know,
me too.
early on, someone said, "How is it that people do back-to-back videos?" And miraculously, every video works perfect right out the box, no problems at all. Every single video, they're like, "This is the best laser in the world," and it's just an unboxing video and review, and they never see that same video again on their channel. So I liked it that lately I've seen built on Steve and Roger, like a follow-up video. Roger, I saw you do a video like this is 6 months later, or this is a year later.
oh, yeah,
I
I do
like to do
follow-ups.
that too.
Yeah, I
like that,
do.
you know,
I
so-
do those quite often.
Yeah,
It
so-
helps if it's a laser that I actually have in the shop. Like I have the Acmer P3 as my diode laser of choice right now, and
Right. But you know, you go to someone's page and they got 50 videos one time of something
Yes.
one time. And every video is like, this is the greatest. It's like, come on,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that's
well,
what-
so I almost never say this is the greatest, although this Acmer P3 is the best laser I've ever used from a diode perspective. But I'll always find something wrong with it. Almost always. I had a hard time with this P3 though, but like even the Nano was actually pretty easy because the shield was like they have this kind of square conical shield, and the thing is just in the way all the time. So I pulled it off and put it aside. I don't know if you did the same thing, Roger.
did the same thing. I put it on once. I thought, oh no, this ain't gonna go. No, I'll put the goggles on.
Yeah.
Corby said that Roger's a player on the download. You know, pimps always wear loud shirts, right?
Yeah.
They want to be
You need
recognized
one of
by
those
walking
big
the
felt hats now.
room.
I probably have some. I know
And
I've
you
got
have
like
a
6
fur
now.
coat
I
and a
have.
cane.
Saying say I love follow-ups on lasers. Yeah, you know, it's
Yeah.
just like I said, if it's as long as the point that is it's more than just one video, right?
Yeah.
You know, but there's a lot
I'm
of people that's how they do.
I'm going to do
They're just
another one
pumping
on
them out.
the We Create Vista, because right after I was done recording it, the IR laser module had, arrived, and I wasn't going to tear the video apart to put it in there. So I'll just do another one. It's good context anyway to separate it. So
Big felt hat with a big ass feather.
Yeah.
In it.
Yeah, there we go.
There you
big
go.
white feather.
Hey, that should be your character when you're reviewing these lasers. You should be your outfit.
Yeah. How to get subscribers.
Maybe not the right ones, but
Leopard print on the head. They said.
I'm definitely trying to do fewer video reviews. Like I'm gonna commit to doing like no more than one a month in 2025, just because I can do project videos. They're way more fun. I wake up in the morning and I'm excited to get them started, and I can do all of the bits and pieces for a project video in a couple of hours. And it's these review videos, they're hard, right? Like it's a lot of work because you have to test things and you have to figure out, the translation to English of the manuals usually, and things like the Nano, especially because the documentation is kind of pre-release. So
yeah, that was a little sketchy.
Yeah, there was a few places where you have to go, okay, which way do I assemble this slider extension so that it works? And I had it in the X direction for the longest time, and I was like, how come when I frame, I just get 2 straight lines, both in the same direction? It's like,
Were you singing that song? I'm gonna do some sketchy shit, sketchy shit, sketchy
yeah,
shit.
well, that's how it felt.
Well, I had the Nano back out today, and I hadn't messed with it now for weeks. I had it back
Yeah.
out today. I did a video on it, and couldn't remember how to get into what they call the carving mode. I mean, why the hell doesn't this thing frame? I can't make it do anything. It just lights up blue.
Yeah.
And looking at it, oh yeah, got to do that.
So
So I
Deborah said,
hadn't used it in a while.
Yeah, that was a
Which
little
laser-
ominous the first time that happened to me, because you turn the laser on at 100% power and you don't see a spot. You just see this blue haze, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh no, this thing is dead.
Deborah said, which laser do you advise for a pass through? I know everyone's all big on class ones now, dials. It has to be enclosed.
Well,
Pass-through
no
makes it not-
no laser with a pass through is going to be a class 1.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point.
If you don't mind spending money, the X-Tool S1 with a pass-through is not bad, or the P2 if you've got even more money.
Deborah, my question would be is what size are you talking?
Well, sure.
What size material are you trying to cut? Right?
Yeah, I mean, you're at the limit of the width of most of those lasers, which applies to any laser really, because you can't put a bigger piece. Like even if you have a CO2, right? There's a limit, no matter what.
There's a new laser that's coming out. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's 4x8. Have you seen it?
Yes, I talked about that last week. It's also got yeah. You hadn't arrived yet, or you left for. Oh, you were on a phone call or something.
If my son's nose started bleeding when I took off.
Yes, that was when we talked about it.
Yeah,
Let me see if I can find it here. Hang on.
Yeah, it's 4x8. It's a CNC and a laser.
Yes. My interest wasn't that it's a CNC. Well, wasn't that it's a 4x8 laser. It's that they're using standard Lightburn G code to run the CNC, so it's not using like Milmage or anything crazy. So I was more intrigued to see if they had some kind of mechanics in the controller itself on the laser to translate. It's this thing.
Wiltshire said, Andy, can you send me that thunder? I'll do some videos and slap the AI, impose your face. I think you have to fight his wife for it, right? That's his wife's baby.
Yeah, you have to fight my wife for it. That's her machine.
I put a link in the comments there. It's this Spider one. Yeah, Clayton's got it there too.
Deborah said she's using an M1 and looking for advice.
Well, if you want to continue to cut vinyl, keep using the M1.
Okay, hold on. Can I?
Is it an M1 or an M1 Ultra? You probably noticed that X-Tool doesn't promote the M1 a lot. I don't think it was a very popular laser. All of those kind of all-in-one tools, they bother me a bit, because you're going to cut a piece of wood on the workspace and turn everything dusty and black, and then you're going to put a piece of vinyl or something on there or whatever, right? And it's going to get dirty. So I don't know. It's just
it's one of those things where it's like a Swiss Army knife. It doesn't do anything well.
Yes,
it can do a little bit of everything, but nothing well.
Yeah.
Take a look at that.
Certainly if you have the room, get a CNC and a laser. I know you have one. I've got a couple of each.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
It takes space though. That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy looking.
Yeah.
Does that actually say $627,000?
No, that's
the
the amount that they've raised in Kickstarter.
I'm on a small screen, so I can't really see what.
Yeah, that's the Kickstarter amount that they've been pledged.
Okay.
But you have to figure the market for this thing's going to be pretty small.
Yeah.
So this thing's not going to be cheap, right? I mean, really, if you just want like a 40-watt laser, go and get a bunch of long length 40/40 extrusion and make your own frame, and you can make your own 4x8 foot laser.
There you go. Yeah.
I've actually thought of doing this. When I saw this, I thought, geez, I should make a video on how to do this.
What are
Now you're
y'all's?
trying to create enemies.
What's your guess on price point for this? What do you think it would be?
This thing's going to be $8,000, probably $6,000.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
It's just not because it's costing that much to make it, but because they're only going to sell like 50 of these things.
right. Yeah. I mean, it's a cool concept. Don't get me wrong. I love the creativity, and I actually had a question for you guys. I just thought of when we were sitting here. It's like, okay, we know we're in a laser. Let's call it a laser boom, right?
Right.
Like people, like these companies are traveling at light speed and putting out new lasers at a crazy speed. Where does this all end up? You know what I mean? Like where?
Too many dials going to compete with CO2.
Yeah, so I think it'll probably terrify some people on this live stream right now, but I think diode lasers have run their course. And I think you're seeing it now, right? Like you got the hurricane out there now, right? You got like these low-end CO2 lasers that are starting to show up. And I think they're just going to move over into the CO2 world now.
Wiltry said, I can't see any machine that combines a laser and a CNC being any good. And I agree. Sometimes you have a multi-tool. It's not the best of either one. I agree. Sometimes that's the case.
I have thought about putting a laser on my Onefinity, but I wouldn't buy the Onefinity. Well, it's some aftermarket one, but I wouldn't buy that one. I just put my own on.
JTech?
Yeah, it's the JTech one.
Yeah.
Corp said, I just want something that'll engrave cutting boards and stride through enough to cut templates. So they don't need, not everybody wants a big giant footprint. And I think,
Right.
Andy, you had mentioned in one of your videos that everybody wants, go big or go home. And then you look at the workspace that they're actually been using, and a lot of times they're using a very small area of their CNC, right?
Well, same with lasers.
Yep.
Right? Like
but the difference is the laser is cheap. So you spend an extra 400. You know what I mean? You didn't spend an extra 5,000.
But like my advice to Corby here, if all he wants to do is engrave on cutting boards, get a nano, right? I mean, unless you want to put a pattern on the entire cutting board, then you can just get a big open frame one. But it doesn't have to be an 4x8 foot one, because you're going to waste a whole bunch of real estate on a workbench to use, this much of it all the time, right?
Yeah. So I agree. Makes no sense. A 70-watt atom stack open frame can just be moved around on the floor for much less. And that's my opinion. Like, I think the 5-watt, 10-watt lasers, they're going to become like non-existent. But I think
even 20s and 30s. Yeah. Well, like I think these 70 watts are going to come apart too, because when you look at the price of a 70-watt atom stack and compare it to the atom stack Hurricane, why would you buy this laser? You can get a 55-watt CO2 that'll do at least as much work as that 70-watt open frame, and it's around the same price.
Right. Yes. Dial is,
and you can do acrylic for the for all that's holy. You can cut acrylic.
Yeah, but definitely technology is gonna I think make the prices cheaper, and I think the whole idea that these laser manufacturers are trying to be the cheapest, the bottom of the barrel, I think that's going away too. I think they're going to kind of start raising their prices. You're going to see everyone start to raise their prices. When there's a car wash in every corner, everyone has the cheap price, right? And at some point, they're like,
I'll tap into my distant past of being a chief technology officer. What happens is you have 1,000 companies making them, and all of a sudden half of them are gone, right? Because there's just not a big enough market anymore. Because we're in a replacement market now, right? Like it's like the same thing Apple's in now, right? They came out with a new phone. Used to be people lined up to get an Apple phone. Now it's just a replacement market. Same thing's happening here. So of the 100 companies that make diode lasers, I'd say probably by the middle of 2025, half of them will be gone. Yeah. And then the rest, half of the remaining, so 25% of the whole will dwindle away. And there'll be 4 or 5 really big companies, Xtool and maybe We Create and Atom Stack. There'll be a few. And they'll all vie for that replacement market.
So Andy, I have a question for you. we
True.
get this all the time, and they say that laser engraving is not woodworking. So would you say that's, and I'm saying this laughing, but I've been attacked posting a video on a woodworking group, laser engraving, because they're like, that's not woodworking. Do you consider the CNC woodworking, or would you only consider it, or is there a difference if you made the blank and then you're engraving it versus you buying it and then engraving it? Do you see a difference, or what's your opinion on
Yes. Oh, this is a fun question. And I get blasted that CNC, like running a CNC router isn't woodworking, and so like there's no answer that's going to appease the.
But what's your personal opinion on it? Not,
Yeah. So my personal opinion is, if you're creating, if you're working with wood, cutting wood, milling wood, am I going to say engraving wood? I don't know. But if you're cutting wood or shaping wood,
call it carving, just to put it in the same context.
there you go. I mean, I think it's woodworking. I think there's different kinds of woodworking, right? And I'm not trying to dodge the question, but they're like someone with a table saw, or someone that uses hand tools looks at someone with a table saw and says that's not woodworking, right?
Well, there's what I was doing all day today.
Yeah. Did you use your handsaw for that, or better yet, chew it?
Oh,
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's not woodworking unless it's. So yeah, this is the argument, right? Like if you look
So
at
let him finish the question. Let him finish the question.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So if you're working with wood, I mean, it's woodworking. Now, where the great, I don't consider buying blanks off Temu and putting them in your laser as woodworking. I think I don't. If someone was calling themselves a woodworker for doing that, I'd be like, that doesn't really make much sense.
You mean like a $2 cutting board blank?
Yeah. Like if you made the blank, absolutely. Or if someone else made the blank and you're like engraving into it, like carving into it or changing its shape, sure. But if you're just simply like downloading an SVG offline and popping in something you bought off Amazon, really, I mean, I don't think that's woodworking. Do you?
I agree.
Right. That's not really craft, right?
No.
Right.
So
No.
I mean, with a CNC, if you're working with wood, it's woodworking. It's that simple, right? Because if you look at woodworkers and what they do, the wood is inconsequential, right? What they do is they have a creative mind, and the creative mind just gets a lot more hyperactive when you have a tool that you don't have to worry about the actual production of the thing. And like, I don't know if you've used your CNC to cut metal.
A couple times.
Yeah. So when I did my my DIY laser, my 90-watt laser, all of the brackets to hold pulleys and things and belts and stuff, belt adjusters, I cut all those out of 1/4-inch aluminum on my CNC.
Nice.
Now it's a metal machine. Right now I'm a metal worker.
Now you're a metal worker.
Yeah. It's
Gary
just,
said, how do they do Z on an open gantry setup?
depends on the laser. Some don't. Some it's fixed focus. But I assume you're asking the question about contours, right? Doing like a 3D contour like you would with a CNC if you're doing contoured cutting or engraving.
Willow Tree Working said, Steve, you hit the nail on the head. Diodes are hanging on the walls, ornaments after you got the CO2.
Yes. Yeah, and right above my CNC, right above my big CO2 laser is a X-Tool 40-watt diode laser, and it hangs on the wall. It's like a trophy, right? It's the deer head on a plaque.
Yep.
He said, don't forget to smash that like button, guys. Go ahead and give us a like. Appreciate it.
And we forgot to thank Stephen for a contribution there.
Yep, I think I shared it.
Oh, did you?
Corey, what material do you use for your templates? Andy drove all those guys on the fence about lasers with the $99 he built and reviewed. Pretty sure those were paperweights now.
Yeah. I made that video. It's funny. I never expected that video to do as well as it did. That was 2 years ago. That video has over 1 million views, and I hear about it all the time.
Nice.
But the simple premise was, let's go on Amazon and buy the cheapest laser that I can find.
Yeah,
And at the
watch that
time,
video.
it was $99.
Sound like an Empire commercial. Says I've used the updated Xtool software. It's not opening up to sign in. Reboot your computer.
Yeah, you should really. I mean, is this like the software is not running? Like, does it start and crash or?
Wheeltree Worker said Andy has a CNC. He's not a real woodworker.
There you go.
Yeah, you're right.
I just did a video on that very question. He said, I see no difference in a CNC router and handheld router. Now, so this is what I say.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I don't know about that.
If you had a chisel and you're like hand carving, like you are a craftsman, hands down, right?
So I've tried this.
But don't be
and this
disrespectful to someone who learned to use a CNC. You get that same guy, you give him the CNC and say, "Go ahead." He's gonna be like,
see, I've tried the chisel to carve, and it's crap with a CNC because for me it's about the design, not about the construction of the thing, right? So I spend like, let's say, I don't think you save a whole lot of time if you're building a one-off thing on a CNC versus doing it with regular machine tools or like a table saw or whatnot. But where you spend your time changes, right? You spend 80% of it up front doing design instead of 80% of it doing all the handwork, and that's the real difference, right? It's still woodworking. I would argue with anybody.
Steve, I like what you said about your mind, right? There's no difference in what tool you're using. If you're a creative person, there's a creative process happening in your mind, right? Yeah. Whether you're working with wood, whether it doesn't matter. And so I thought that was really interesting. I hadn't thought about it.
Like when you see a really good piece of furniture, I'm talking like a 200-year-old piece of furniture. So there were no tools, right? But if you just look at that piece of furniture, the first thing in your mind isn't, gee, I wonder if he used a CNC. You look at it and go, this guy was an artist.
Yep.
Right. But you can get that same effect with a CNC. The person who uses the CNC is still an artist.
Yep.
They just can do a whole lot more, a whole lot faster now. That's
there's
the
a guy
real difference.
There's a guy who's local to me. He's like a Polish guy, like straight from Poland. And he is a master craftsman. When I say that, he does everything by hand. And he builds custom cabinetry. And he just makes these crazy designs, like on end caps and stuff. And he busts my chops every time he can with any kind of laser engraving. And I'm like, bro, I'm gonna unfriend you. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, DM me and bust my balls. It's cool, but like, customers are seeing this. You know what I mean? He's like, that's crap. You just use the machine. Like,
when I was much younger, on Saturday morning, I used to watch. Was Roy Underhill. And then followed immediately by the New Yankee Workshop. And it's like, the first guy is like, if you have to use electricity, you're not using real tools. And the other guy has every power tool known to man, right? Like, it's just, but they're both craftspeople, right? They're both amazing.
Nancy finally received the Monport 90 watt. Congratulations. CNC successfully got in the house.
No hernias.
Husband didn't break his back, as we were talking about last week. In the bedroom, aka laser room, into a small, and was able to install in Liper no problem. Now aligning mirrors is a lot of work. So frustrated. I think you need to watch Roger's tape video.
Yeah, I did a video. I forget what part of my DIY laser series. I spent a lot of time getting the laser aligned, because there's a couple of real subtleties. Getting the mirrors lined up is actually not your biggest problem, right? But if you, let's say, mirror to the first elbow, if the mirror is pushed in, then the entire beam going out to the lens is pushed in as well, which means it's not going through the center of the lens, and you'll get some weird angled cut. So you have to pay attention to this stuff. Anyway, I did a video. If you look in, I have a playlist for the DIY laser, and one, I think it's probably like part 4 or part 5 of that series, where I spend a lot of time talking about calibration of the laser.
Well, she says Rick's on the right track from the debate. I hear I'm woodworking. If you use machines, you're a woodworker. If you hands tools, you're a craftsman. Yeah.
That's certainly true, but I don't know if that's exclusively true.
Nate said if she had more room, she'd get a CNC. Greetings from Omaha.
For Nancy's benefit, Onefinity makes a CNC that you can tilt up on and lean against the wall.
So
in fact, they make one that you can run on the wall.
We had a conversation about this before we went online. I think it's. I've had so many debates on what's an actual woodworker. I even had an ex-wife who was a woodworker, just not the same to me. Yeah, I think you're the prize winner of comments for today's live. Not sure anyone will beat that.
That sounds like something we should be sympathetic to, actually.
I use machines and hand tools. Yeah, there you go. I've watched so many videos on turning the screws aren't moving the laser in the correct direction. It's like cutting your hair, right? When you're looking in the mirror, it's actually the opposite direction you think sometimes.
Yeah, you have to. There's a bit flip in your brain that has to happen when you're doing calibration, because most things are backwards, especially with the lens, because everything is backwards. What I'd say, once you get the mirrors lined up, which is generally pretty easy, take the lens out and make sure that you can actually put a piece of tape on the bottom of where you took the lens out of, and make sure that the laser coming down off the third mirror is actually hitting the center of the hole, and get that done first. And then typically what I do is, without the lens in there, I'll take a test shot on a piece of material below that, and then drop the bed or raise the gantry, whichever your laser does. Just make it further away from the material, and just make sure that another test shot is on the same spot and not coming off at some weird angle. I know it's kind of hard to explain without pictures, but it's in this calibration video I mentioned.
A little at a time. She says, you want my husband to kill me. Just small adjustments, huge adjustments just keep throwing you all over the place. Nancy, you need to post some videos on your 90 watt. Yep. So I talked to Momport last week, and supposedly they said they're going to send me a 100 watt laser. Now they're unsure if it's going to be the 100 watt MOPA, 100 watt CO2. So we'll see.
Well, then you'll be glad you cut a hole in your foundation to put a door in. Because 100 watt CO2 laser is going to be something that has to be on wheels. You're not going to carry it, right?
I'm Mexican, bro. We'll carry anything.
This one right here is 100 watt.
Yeah,
and it's on wheels. You wouldn't be lifting it. I mean, you maybe 5 of you, but
how much my DIY laser weighs.
Here, let me look it up.
450 pounds, probably.
Yeah,
400 pounds.
I got my cousin Rocky's a professional mover, dude. They got these crazy ass straps. 2 dudes, they'll lift shit you wouldn't believe. I've seen these dudes lift pianos. They're just walking like there's no tomorrow.
Now this isn't like moving a fridge, right? This thing is bigger, wider, not quite as tall, but it's heavy. It's more than 2 people can lift with belts.
So this one behind me is 700 pounds.
Yeah, you need a couple more of your best Mexican friends there.
I mean, you could do it, but I mean,
but that'll be the last thing you ever lift.
I gotta eat the Wheaties.
Not strong like bull, strong like bull.
Strong like bull, hung like horse.
Strong like BS, I mean.
We'll see. It's coming down here. I'm not sure if I've considered a woodworker, but I have been a carpenter for 26 years, and I'm now incorporated CNC machine into my carpentry side of my business. Nice one.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
You're a woodworker.
Yeah.
So I moved the adjustment knob so much it's see, that's why I said don't go crazy, just little. You start moving them all, then
you kind of got to do a one at a time thing too. Start moving them all at once.
So Nancy, in this video I created these little target cards to put in front of the mirror rather than put tape on, because the tape doesn't tell you if you're in the center or anything, right? It just tells you that you're hitting the mirror somewhere. And I've heard people say, "Oh, it doesn't matter where you hit the mirror; you can compensate with the next mirror." And it's like, no, it's just not right. So I made these little targets and just printed them out, and then I know when I'm hitting the center. They actually slide into these little acrylic things that I cut, but of course you need your laser running to cut them. So
I'm looking up the
400
laser to
pounds.
see how much it weighs, if they say.
They
Well,
should
Nancy
say.
says hers weighs 396. So,
Mm,
and it'll
there
weigh,
you go.
50 pounds more once you fill the chiller with water.
See what it says.
Well, that's a good point.
Now,
Weight
you
485 pounds.
Yeah, you shouldn't be moving it when it's full of water.
485 pounds.
I mean, you get one guy at each corner. You got
Yeah.
this.
How many corners is on your laser?
Hey, I've lifted an engine with another guy, so I'm pretty sure 485 pounds you can lift.
I did crap like that when I was in my 20s. I don't think I try it now.
So when I worked on industrial UV lasers, they weighed 650 pounds, and we had bars like you slid in like these little eye loops down on the bottom of the base, and it
Boom.
took 6 people.
Look at that. This is Andy. I do recall a video of you and your wife moving that thunder in.
Yeah, it has wheels.
They were pushing.
We were pushing it. I've never lifted this thing. I've only pushed it.
I was in it last night and it was okay. Uh-oh. Did you try to restart your computer and reconnect the laser?
She's
This
talking
is
about
the
X-Tool.
XPS thing.
Yeah, too late, Nancy, man. You are in a tough spot because once you start going crazy, you're going to have to start with the first one and then work your way, I think. Align the laser to the gantry, then align the mirror to the laser. Repeat for each mirror. There you go.
Yeah, it's pretty much that simple.
Yeah, just
and I don't want to diminish the first time. Honestly, it doesn't matter. The first time you have to align a laser, you will have thoughts that this thing is never going to run again. But
Yep, been there, done that.
But like anytime I have to calibrate my CO2 laser, it takes me about 5 minutes now. But the first time, yeah, it was like, I don't know if this thing's ever going to run.
Terry said, as input, I do a lot of work for folks I consider artists. Folks either like leather worker or a knife maker. They come to me for laser markings their customers ask for.
That's a good little side thing.
Yeah.
That's because they don't want to have a laser and cut their own leather.
Willory says, Andy, I think your wife moved it. And Andy, then poof, there you were speaking about it.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. My husband got it in with a flat dolly. We both turned it and carried it to room. Since it was on coasters, we set it down and we're good. Yeah, so I have to come in the back door and go straight down.
Do you have stairs?
Yeah.
Gee, I'm glad I live 1,000 kilometers away from you.
Hey, Roger and I are linemen, right? We lift poles and all kinds of crazy.
Well, I'm an inside fireman,
yeah,
an engineer, but my pole climbing days ended back in the early 80s.
So there'll be some ingenuity going on for sure. Maybe it'll be a comical video.
So did anybody notice the new Lightburn licensing model?
No.
Mm-mm.
They've changed it. Here, let me.
I don't have the newest one. When it expired, I was like, whatever. I left it.
Mine's not due for a while.
Let me post a link.
Mine's expired. I need to renew it.
Yeah,
Right too.
So they're in some ways this is good because their licensing was just weird. Like if you just had a CO2, it was easy as long as it was a Ruida controller or something.
Right.
But there was also the DSP and Galvo and a bunch of things. So now they've basically come up with two of these. There's the core, which is $100, and that's just G code, so diode laser and Ruida, I guess, on CO2. And then they have the DSP and Galvo Pro, Lightburn Pro for $100. So one is $100 and the other one's $199.
So is that per year, or is that
No. So so the per year upgrade used to be $30. Now they're changing it to anywhere from $40 to $50. So it's gone up a bit, but
yeah. So I have a 40 watt CO2. Do you guys run engine coolant in it to help with the freezing in the winter? Are you using any, or what are you doing for these issues? I've only been using distilled water.
You need to use propylene glycol. Don't go and buy a jug of car antifreeze. Don't put that in your laser.
Yeah. So one of my lasers, I have propylene glycol. The other, I have, if you go to, I don't know, some hardware store or auto supply place, you can get the winter antifreeze for RVs.
Pink stuff.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. RV antifreeze.
Yeah, and it's not clear, it's orange, but if you look at the content there, it's pretty high in propylene glycol anyway, because you put it in a water system. So in my CO2, which is liquid cooled spindle, and my big laser, I use that stuff. And it has the advantage of being dirt cheap, and it's pre-mixed. You don't have to do anything, you just pour it in.
Yeah, so mine's in the basement, which is heated and cold. So I just have distilled water.
Yeah. And at this time of year, that stuff is on sale all the time because, well, it won't be in Florida or anywhere, but you can usually get a couple gallons of it for, I don't know, $5-6. It's pretty cheap.
Nancy said basically she's not giving up.
No,
I'll get it even if it takes me a week. Those thoughts have crossed my mind. I was thinking, oh my God, I broke it.
No, you didn't break it.
Yeah. There you go.
So if you do run into trouble, just shoot me an email or certainly watch the video I did. That'll get you going, because I'll basically tell you everything that's in that video anyway. But if you get really stuck, just shoot me an email and we can set something up.
So Andy, I have a question for you. As you're finding more and more people start approaching you like these course type things, do you find that most people are upgrading into a CNC? Like they've had some type of laser experience, and then after kind of getting that comfort zone are going into CNC? Or do you find some people are just like more jumping into it, and it's going from like a smaller CNC to a bigger? Do you see a CNC as like an entry level to graduate into a CNC, or is your experience just two different lanes?
I see it all different ways. There doesn't seem to be any. I always recommend, if people, because sometimes I get the question, should I start with the CNC or should I start with the laser? And I always tell them, well, if you don't have any experience at all with either, I would start with the laser. Because
one less access to worry about.
Yeah, and those skills that you learn are transferable, right? It will make a CNC easier a little bit. Yeah. You'll have the basic understanding, right? But
yeah, honestly, if you start with a cheap laser, you'll learn the concepts of tool paths and speed and that kind of thing. Right?
There's so much to learn, like even the difference between like vectors and rasters, and so much like just by getting a laser in diving into it, there's so much even around it information that you otherwise don't know. So I definitely recommend starting there. But I think the most common path for me that I see is woodworkers that use like power tools, adding a CNC to their shop.
Nice. So what do you think about the whole versus using like a double-sided sticky tape to hold your material down versus like these vacuum tables? Do you think that's, I mean, and they can be pretty costly. Is that really worth the money?
Well, I don't have experience with a vacuum table. My two go-to hold down methods are screws and double-sided tape. Like if I don't need the face, like if I can put holes in the face, I'm screwing it. And the reason is because now, yes, I've hit screws with bits. It's not a good thing, but most of the time I avoid them. But
it'll chew through it anyway.
Yeah, but usually you chip the bit. In my case, usually the bit is chipped once I hit a screw. But the reason I do that is because most bits break when your work holding breaks loose. Yeah. With screws, It doesn't move, you know? So that's my favorite. But to your point, like when you get up to, like there's no doubt in my mind, like when you get out, that an Airtable on a larger machine, let's say, I think the price range would be 20,000 plus is the way to go. You know, I mean, there's a reason why they're heavily used in manufacturing, because you literally plop a piece of wood on there and go.
Yeah.
But down on our side, on the hobby side, I don't know. Call me old fashioned, but I screw it and go.
If you're chipping bits with what kind of screws are you using? Drywall screws? Deck screws?
I use deck screws. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
they're
shouldn't
good
chip
hard.
a bit with those.
Oh
Yeah, man. I'll shred. I don't think I have one right here, but I'll chip a tooth on it typically.
Huh.
Wiltree said, Andy, I'm curious, are you still using smaller CNCs or did the Avid take over? Is this a big learning curve between the two?
So I mainly use the Avid now for most things, but since I make YouTube videos and that's not very approachable, I still have smaller machines around. And that's one of the big things with my new shop is I'm going to have a Shapeoko set up, which has a 30-inch by 30-inch bed. And it's actually a Shapeoko 4, so it's still belt driven. And I plan on doing more things on that. Learning curve, yeah. Generally the same. But when you start going from a, let's say a Shapeoko or something like that, and jumping to an Avid, the control software is different. It's more advanced. You have more control. But the biggest learning curve was work holding. Like I had to, like I couldn't with the Avid, I couldn't keep. There's just so much more force. If you think a bigger machine, bigger spindle, faster speeds, I could still run at the same speed as the smaller machines, but that kind of defeats the purpose. But yeah, I had work holding was the learning curve. Like, oh, I need to put screws in every corner, or I need more double-sided tape. You know, just more force at play.
Check It First said, I started with a laser first, then bought a small CNC basically to learn. Now I'm upgrading to a bigger CNC.
Yeah, and the concepts are the same, right? You'll hear any CNC nerd talk about speeds and feeds, right? And that applies no matter what. Doesn't matter what your CNC is.
They thought they implied a lifetime guarantee.
Yeah. No.
What about that? Remember that Craftsman tool where you could resharpen bits? Do you remember that? You guys ever seen that?
These are, well, I don't know what Andy uses. I only use carbide bits, so there's no tool in the world that'll sharpen those.
No, it's not worth the effort.
So I was watching Clack. I don't know if he's not watching this. Clack was saying, buy all cheap bits because you're gonna break them, and then the ones you tend to use more often, buy the expensive ones and then break them too. That was his advice.
The theory is you'll break them less often.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I even sell bits, and I tell everybody, like beginners, I don't even sell like extremely expensive bits. Like they're quality, middle of the road, like the bits that I use, like, you know, all the time. But if you're brand new, just go to Amazon and get a 10-pack and pay, you know, $20 for 10 of them, because you're going to break them. And then when you get a month in, 2 months in, then invest in some better bits, because there is a difference. But
get the ones from Amazon that they say are carbide bits. They're slightly better than the ones that definitely aren't carbide bits. But they're not nearly as good as like what Andy's selling. A Jenny bits are good. Amana bits are good.
Warrior Woman is asking,
but you're going to pay money for them, right?
Roger, for some of your 3D printed feet. How would someone buy that from you?
I just posted the link in the comments there to our website where we have
there
those.
Moonshinecrafts.com.
Just make sure you know your laser model. Okay, Atom Stack 30. Well, Atom Stack you got the A's, you got the X's and the C's, and So you kind of need to match up the model with what feed and risers you're looking for.
Roger's got you covered with the 3D farm.
Yeah.
So what kind of spindle do you have on the Avid, Andy?
So on the 4x4 machine that I just got rid of was a 4 horsepower spindle.
Oh, so 220 volt then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Single phase 220. And then the new, it's used. If you didn't see my video, just so you have an idea of what I'm talking about, I recently swapped CNCs, still Avid, but a friend he was downsizing, so he wanted a 4x4 machine to fit in his basement. And I just built a new shop, and I'm like, well, I've got space. Well, he had a 5x10. So we made a deal, made it happen. So this CNC, the 5x10 back through that door, has an 8.7 horsepower spindle on it. It weighs 80 pounds.
It's diesel powered?
What's that?
It's diesel powered?
It's diesel powered.
So now you're looking at wind generators and solar panels.
Yeah. So the thing is I can't. So that's 2-phase power, and I don't have that, and I don't want to go down that route. I don't need to. So I learned it was a problem for a minute, but then I reached out to Avid, and they said, well, you can run it on single phase, and it ends up being like 6.2 horsepower, and I'm like, that's fine.
You can also get an open vector variable frequency drive and drive it off that, single phase in, 3-phase out. And that may have gone over your head, but that's
like a mini transformer for your house.
Okay. So,
yes, it's like a mini transformer, a box that just basically creates more power.
It's like an isolation transformer, right?
Well, no, a variable frequency drive is completely open vector. You can use it's a 3-phase frequency drive, and your single phase would come in on A and C, and then your output, you would have A, B, and C. You would have 2 3-phase, and you can vary the frequency, and there's a lot of other settings you can do.
It's pretty common. When I first got into the garment industry, all the DTG printers were all 220 and some weird Chinese powered, and I was kind of scared to like plug into my house. So I wanted power conditioners and this and that. I jumped through some of those tools.
My electrician friend was talking about he does a lot of industrial installation stuff, and he was installing some piece of equipment in some company here from China, and it was 3-phase 550 volt, and he said, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, so I've turned down things because of that, and I even told them, like, who the hell is going to be able to install this? Like, who's going to be able to use this? They're like factories. I'm like, dude, I'm not like advertising like Volkswagen. You got the wrong guy. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're trying to send me a machine the size of a fucking garage. Like, it ain't gonna happen. Like, fly me to you and I'll make a video or something. You know what I mean? But I can't even turn it on.
So are any of your spindles liquid cooled, or are they all air cooled?
They're all air cooled.
Yeah, my spindle's liquid cooled. It's a Huan Yang spindle. I love it. Like, it's a great spindle. Huh?
Only one yank?
Huan Yang.
Not two. What the other thing is like, I know, like, I'm talking in horsepower, but I wonder what is the other word? Watts?
Kilowatts, probably.
Yep.
Kilowatts. Is that a conversion, horsepower to kilowatts?
Yes.
There's 755 watts of 1 horsepower.
Power is current times voltage.
So the little CNC that I finally I looked through my old emails. It's a 2-tree. That's the one I have that I haven't put.
Oh, it's that little 5-watt spindle, or 15-watt, whatever it is.
Whatever their biggest spindle is, and the whole bit set, and the one.
Actually, for the considering what it is, it's not a bad little spindle.
Yeah, so they sent me the whole bit set. They sent me the thing that the box weighs like 1,000,000 pounds, and there's multiple boxes, and I'm like, this thing has to be like
Yeah,
just like, it says 8 hours assembly, and I'm just like, Oh my god.
I'm gonna go
my,
grab
my
it.
spindles, I think 2.5 horsepower, which is
Yeah.
good enough. I mean, I have a 1/2-inch chuck on there. Well, I can put a 1/2-inch collet in the spindle.
I just had electrician out last night. Saw a 20 amp circuit for a plug where it was good. Yeah, it's pretty standard.
Yep.
Oh, here we go. He's got the big mama jama.
Yeah.
It looks like a hydraulic pump.
So
No, that's a spindle.
I know. I'm just thinking. It looks like a hydraulic cylinder.
See,
but
when you
I
said
got
it was
because I have a wireless spindle now.
nice.
It works wirelessly. So
when you said it was
Energy.
8 horsepower, I had visions of it being like one of those 1920s ones where AC motors used to be huge.
Oh yeah, it looked like a bushel basket.
Yeah. So funny. The reason I grabbed this funny story. So, Bob was taking it. So the guy I got it from was taking it apart and basically divided it into 2 sections. And he almost got really injured. Why he didn't wait for me, I don't know. You know how guys are. He started taking it apart into 2 pieces, and basically the gantry wasn't balanced over one of the halves. Right, it was kind of forward. So the whole, like when the whole CNC bed tipped, and that gantry came for him, like came right at him, and I mean a lot of weight, and anyways, it came and stopped, like it hit the ground, like where kind of hit the ground, but also hit the bar of the front piece. Kind of hard to explain. So it broke this hole. They call this the T box. Ugh. I only know this because I talked to Avid and said, "Hey, can I get this fixed?" And it broke that box right there. Not a big deal, but it made it so we couldn't get this connection. This wire comes off. Like it's a connection, so we had to end up cutting the wire to actually get the spindle off from.
Oh, because you couldn't turn the aircraft plug off?
Yeah, we couldn't. It was like smashed together. So, I was like, hey, when you fix this, can you send me? Because it broke the wires inside here as well, inside that T box, and I was like, I need a new power cable.
Yeah.
Or a plug and have an extension cord.
Yeah, I'll wire it up.
Nice.
But
So when do you think you can have that up and running?
it's gonna be
Or what's the plan?
it's gonna be a minute. So it gave me some options. Either I could zip tie and duct tape it back together. Not this part, but the other part. Or they'd send me like the new pieces and I would fix it, or they could send me a UPS label and they'll fix it. So I was like, send me the label.
Right.
So, but they're out in Washington State. So you ship it across the country and then fix it and ship it back. So it's going to be a couple weeks.
It's going to also be a few dollars.
It's not going to be cheap.
Because what's that weigh? About 35, 40 pounds?
No, it's about, let's see. Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah,
what's
UPS won't be kind to you.
14
kilograms, so 2 times 2.2. So, 30 pounds.
30
well,
pounds.
almost 40 pounds.
40
It would be
pounds.
40 pounds.
Yeah.
What
I mean,
are Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
it's not light.
Yeah.
So,
What
yeah,
are the insight on the Bamboo Lab X1 series model new release. Already outgrew the X1 Mini. Don't want to buy a 2022 model if they're coming out with a new version.
I haven't really been looking to see if they have any more new models. The X1 Carbons I have, I absolutely love it.
The bad news about this is they're always coming out with a new model.
Oh, sure.
This is technology.
Will,
They aren't as bad as reality.
Andy said, can we work on some Thunder Laser videos with his wife while he's working on the Avid?
You really want some Thunder videos, don't you?
Now we've been hearing that back to back.
Yeah.
Every video you've been on, they're harping on that Thunder Laser.
Peer pressure.
Yeah.
The Thunder is ready to go. I mean, it's hooked up. it's hooked up, ready to go. So
LTX Design said, "Hey Andy, I'm switching over from an Infinity One to the new Avid 4x8 with an X controller, getting delivered tomorrow. Any tips for setup and how is learning curve?"
yeah,
How's the
yeah.
learning curve?
So, okay. Keep in mind when you're cussing and saying every other word possible, that Avid the reason Avid is, in my opinion, such a great great machine is it punches way above its price point. Its capability versus what it cost it's a really good deal. So how they do that is you have to assemble it, and if you like assembly, it's not a big deal. I'm not a big assembly guy. I want to use the thing, So, but I did there's 3 videos that I put out a year and a half ago when I got my Avid about assembly, and that'll give you a good idea what to expect. But yeah, it's a great machine, and you'll get very familiar with roll-in T-nuts. That's how they keep everything. And yeah, take a second to learn those. Once you learn them, they're not a big deal, but they're kind of aggravating at first.
So you're saying I Googled that really quick. I can't even come up with their website.
What's that? Avid?
Who makes it? Yeah, who makes it?
Avid. I think it's avidcnc.com.
That's it. Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Nice.
So cool company. They're this was started just by a guy, and like most companies are, I guess. But basically by a maker, and their goal is just to make a machine for makers. Their angle is pretty cool on the market. Sometimes people bash it, like, oh, it's not rigid, it's not, it doesn't have a welded frame. I can tell you that, it's not a Cam Master, and it's not I'm trying to think of some of the higher end $80,000, $100,000 CNCs. It's not one of those, definitely, but it punches above its cost. So
Wiltree says, I'm like a nagging wife. Andy, Rick, how's the fiber laser giveaway coming? I think I can hack the subscriber live video. He's gonna be firing up some bots. We got 2 million people on the live. 25 years of software engineer, might need some Russian skills to ensure the win. Too funny. If we go to your channel and see 45 million views, we'll know why. Speaking of, I just hit 38,000 subscribers today. So
congrats, man. That's cool.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I was 17 subscribers away, and I was kind of watching, and then today I just went over 38,000. So I'm like, oh, cool.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm gonna win that fiber laser. It's like, back off, man. That's all mine. Too funny.
Yeah.
I was torn between a Phantom and an Avid. I ultimately chose the Avid due to the, what is this? Modularity and the ability to grow or shrink as needed.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm a grower and a shower, so.
I'm not going to touch that.
Once again, we digress.
Congratulations, Rick. Just making them laugh. Yeah. My daughter said, "Dad, you're such a nerd."
Yeah. The only problem I've looked at Avids numerous times, and I keep looking at them and go, "Oh, what makes this thing so expensive?"
Wiltree said, "Nah, I'll just be the only person visible on that live giveaway." he's got some skills.
Just his name popping up over and over again.
Too funny.
The
So anyone got any questions in the live? Just let us know. Let us know.
Steve, to your question, what makes it so expensive? I mean, it's definitely not cheap, but
Yeah.
going
What's not
from
cheap? You don't mind me asking for you.
What's that?
What's not cheap?
Yeah, that's a good point. But
No. I'm saying what's the price point? You're saying not cheap.
oh,
What is it?
gotcha. I thought you were like saying everything's expensive. And
I mean, I'm looking at that 4x8 Avid, and I don't know if this is Canadian or American pricing, but
let's see.
It's tops out at about 26,000.
Okay, so
And I
26,000
looked at it and
for
go,
that.
it's
You're
just a
saying it's
4x8
cheaper because
CNC running on a bunch of extrusion. Like, what's the big deal?
right. So you're saying it's a competitive buy because of the assembly. So an equivalent or something like a like for like type thing, what would be a competitor price point? Like,
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great way to look at it too.
Yeah.
$10,000 more.
Wow.
So in just my experience, so everybody and Steve, everybody, I agree. It was me too. You get caught up on the extrusion, but everything else on the machine is, I mean, it's designed. I would say the level of like a professional CNC shop where you could run it day in and day out, like a production machine. Like the components and the motors and
so
it's
industrially built. It's not a
Yeah.
hobby. It could be used as a hobby, but it's made to be commercially used.
Yeah, and there's a lot of
although-
there's a ton of cabinet shops, ton of like they have a lot of customers in cabinet making and a lot of different uses. And so
like I looked at the one I was looking at was roughly the same size as my Onefinity Elite, and it used the same stepper motors or some variation of the same stepper motor. You still had to put a spindle on it, so it was over and above whatever the price was. And I mean, I run my Onefinity Elite all the time. Like, it's like, yeah, it's probably not what a production shop is going to do, but I'm not a production shop, right? Like I'm the old adage, if your CNC isn't running, you're losing money, right? And I just didn't want to get into that mode, especially, like I looked at these and I was like, there's got to be something to them. I do know somebody who's got one and definitely loves it, but it just, I keep looking at it going, I just don't get it. Like how is it any better?
So looking at the 4x8, the 4x8 Pro, with their standard setup. So you're talking 8-inch Z-axis travel, NEMA 34 stepper motors, 4 horsepower plug and play spindle, VFD system. You're priced at $13,500.
Yeah, that's not terrible, I guess. I mean, that's still about a little more than twice the price of my Onefinity Elite. Now it's not a 4x8, but
yeah.
So people ask us all the time, Andy, do you have affiliates or discounts or promo codes for anyone if they wanted to purchase that?
I don't. Avid does not offer any. They do not have an affiliate program.
They don't have to.
As much as I have harassed them because it would make sense for them to have one, they basically told me, yeah, we don't have to have one.
Legit question, Shapeoko or Infinity One and why? No bias info, Andy, the Shapeoko king.
So I can tell you, I looked at the Shapeoko too, and why I ended up buying a Onefinity was, first of all, it's Canadian, so it was an easy choice, but
hey, no bias.
I know, but it uses ball screws rather than, at the time I looked at my first one, Shapeoko was still using belts, and the drive system was not nearly as robust. Like the Onefiniti's got, like the Elites especially have like a tube, a precision tube that's about 3 inches in diameter, right? And that's what everything runs on. And it's all ball screws. And like I've measured things that I cut, and it's accurate to within like very small fractions of a millimeter. So that's why I went with the Onefinity. And
So
the Elite, I really like the Masso controller.
yeah, but I think that with the Masso controller, the Elite, isn't that like an 8K setup? 7,000, I think.
Yeah, well, mine was about 65, I think.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, it's not cheap either, right? And it's now. I don't know. Like I said, I don't think it's something that a shop that does like a cupboard or a furniture manufacturer is going to use, right? Because it doesn't have the big industrial name, for one thing. But I use mine like I had it running solidly for days, and it works great. And I've never had a problem with them.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Onefinity, and I don't have any experience because I don't have one, but it looks like a great machine.
So the Phantom I was looking at is around 16,000 before shipping. The specs on the Avid was a couple hundred less shipped. I found out that on the vacuum table and the steel frame, but gained in flexibility.
Yeah,
I lost on the vacuum table too.
So things like the vacuum table are where you're going to end up spending lots of money, right? Tool changers and vacuum tables. Those are things that industrial CNCs have.
Yeah,
because they don't want somebody standing there changing tool bits or trying to figure out how to hold a piece of material down.
Yeah. So
then you're paying.
So I'll just share my perspective on this whole thing, and kind of. So I bought my Shapeoko when I bought my first CNC. I was comparing. Onefinity didn't exist. I was comparing between X-Carve and Shapeoko. And that is a no-brainer. Shapeoko is leaps and bounds ahead of X-Carve. And actually, it was the same. Not a lot of people know this, but it was the same company at one time. And they split, and basically the X-Carve hasn't changed. Like the base X-Carve, talking about like the 30 by 30 inch bed, and this was back in 2017. So that was an easy choice for me. When the Onefinity came out, if you haven't heard, I love business. So I thought it was a great design, a great play on the market. Everybody, for years, people complained about the belts on Shapeoko. I'll get back to that point here in a second. But and Onefinity came, like, that's what good products do. Like, that's what good companies do. They solve a problem in the market, and they did a good job doing it. And so now you see, I think to the question of LTX Design said, everybody's looking at their angle, right? Like their angle in the market. What's their unique value proposition? Avid's is flexibility, but you give up some things in order to get flexibility and modularity and expand. Like, you could turn it into a 4x100 CNC machine because you keep adding. Not that I don't know why you'd want that, but in theory, you could keep adding to it. But then Phantom, they have different. It's just like any other product. But so my thought on belts. I made over $100,000 with my Shapeoko 3 XXL. It ran on belts. It was fine. And I never had a belt stretch. I never adjusted the belts. And I'm not sponsored by Shapeoko or anything. This is just my experience. And it was fine. Now, if I was faced with the decision of buying a Shapeoko in 2017, a Shapeoko versus Onefinity, I think it would have came down to price. But the Onefinity was definitely a superior machine at that time. But something that's interesting, you know, I'm no engineer, but I look at like what's the weakest point of each machine? And the weakest point on a Shapeoko with the belts, because they have the Shapeoko 5 Pro now with, you know, ball screws and whatever. But on the Shapeoko 3, like the belts weren't the weakest link for me. It was using a trim router as the spindle. That was the weakest link for me. So the belts kept up with that. Like the router failed before the belts did. And so I see one of my beefs. I see people with these Onefinities running trim routers, and I'm like,
yep,
guys,
that annoys me too. And I started with a trim router, and I used it for about 3 months, and went, this thing's not going to survive. It's loud. It's just and you can't put a 1/2-inch bit in it because you can only put some weird non-standard collet in there. So you know, you're always stuck to 1/4-inch bits. So I got rid of it and got a proper spindle. And I think, honestly, on most machines, I think the biggest difference of all, the thing that makes the biggest difference is the thing that's cutting, right? The spindle.
Yep.
And
have you guys heard of Inventables?
Yep.
Yeah, so they make the X-Carve.
Yeah, so they're actually local to Roger and I. Like,
I should go on a tour, shoot a video.
Don't tell them where I live, because I just badmouth them.
I even have one of their trim routers, since you were just talking about them, one of the extra trim routers mounted on my analog CNC.
Yeah.
That's a 3030.
Yeah. They're local to us. They're in Chicago. Yeah.
So the interesting thing is, like I say all this because it is, these debates are just like Ford, Chevy. It all depends on what you're using it for. You know the guy that needs a $100,000 diesel dually and he never pulls a trailer? Like, come on, you know. And so it really is.
But does it have an 8-inch lift?
What's that?
But does it have an 8-inch lift?
Right. So it's like we're arguing semantics, right? Like, because every machine really has its market.
I've been that guy, Andy.
Yeah.
What's that?
I've been that guy.
Hey,
yeah, and I mean, I looked at the X-Carves too briefly, and I went, oh, you know, this isn't the right thing, right? Like, it's not that it's terrible, but I knew what the duty cycle of my machine was going to be. And then it became, well, they didn't have the Shapeoko 5 at the time, but then it became the original Onefinity or the Shapeoko. And I just went with the Onefinity just because of the ball screws. And I did start with a trim router, drove me crazy. Yeah. Like, when you get a proper spindle on a CNC, you turn the thing on and it's like, is it making noise? Like, it's just silent, right?
It's that drastic of a difference in sound?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
because I know I use my router all the time. My router table, man, it is fucking loud.
Yeah, they're just loud, and I mean, they've got
like they have, you know, you don't realize how loud it is until you're not using it, and you're like, my ears are ringing.
Yeah,
my ears are ringing.
But you see, like, a trim router is not designed for constant duty cycle, right? It's not designed to be turned on and left on. It's designed for like a 2-minute job, right?
Yeah.
And so they have bushings in them rather than bearings, and they're just they don't last long.
And it's like, like just change the brushes and it'll be fine.
Yes, and
I remember changing the brushes. Oh my goodness, that was so. I didn't know any better at the time. Like, when I'm burning brushes out of a trim router on a CNC,
Someone said, I'm going to use it to flatten live edge slabs. I'm Canadian first and foremost slinger across the Chile border on the Onefinity. I'm also a Southern American now, so he's a Texan Canadian.
Well, right? I do know people in Florida who have Onefinities. And I know people here who have Shapeoko. So
I had asked about the Incredibles because on like Facebook Market, the you've seen like these ads come up constantly,
Yeah.
and it seemed like these ads were geared toward like their software and training and cabinetry making, and yeah, but it was they have some serious. I mean, it's a 4x4, but they have some serious money invested in on advertising on Facebook. That is for sure.
So did you? I don't know if you've seen the price point on that machine.
It is
It's like 10K, like 9K,
$5,995.
How much?
$5,995.
So $6,000. That's still a lot.
Well,
For that
when they
machine.
first came out with that, I'll have to see a picture of it. 4x4. Is it like their four? What do they call it?
Yeah, I'll bring it up right now.
Because they came out with a machine, it might be the same one, where it was like $9,000 for a 4x4 machine. And I was like, and this was a couple years ago, and I was like, well, who's going to buy that?
You see it?
Okay, this is a little bit different.
Yeah, see shop. Okay, all categories.
Are
and then
those
there was
linear
CNC
rails on
option.
that thing?
CNC machines. Here's all they have. $6,000 one to 4,000. Only two models.
Okay.
Well,
Maybe-
they changed their product line quite a bit. They've pared it down.
Yep, they did. They did. You're right.
Yeah. Two models,
Because they
that's all
had
I got.
one that was like its own. This is a benchtop, right? Model like
Yeah.
Shapeoko and Onefinity. But they had one that was like had its own base that was, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's
Well, spending $6,000, I would not spend it on that. I'd buy a Onefinity for sure, an Elite.
I would agree.
I agree with you, Andy, on the Chevy 4 thing. You know what I mean? There's going to be guys that you're not going to convince them otherwise, right? They're just I'm a Dodge guy. You're not going to be driving any other truck but a Dodge, right?
That's when somebody has to dive in and say Toyota.
My brother-in-law's a Marine. He drives a Toyota, and I'm like, and he's a Trump fan. I'm like, the next time you say America, I'm gonna punch you in the balls. Like, you don't even drive an American truck. And he says your American Dodge Ram is built in Mexico, and I'm like, all right, whatever, shut up. That's how
I've only owned one Toyota, and I hated the thing, and I sold it. I traded it in after about 15 months. Like, it was just awful.
Right. So I would say that like people get in their comfort zone, and even though there may be more pros or cons, whatever, that's just what they're familiar with for sure. But if you're a noob or you're looking to buy something, it's 100% worth listening to someone's heartburn, even if it's just a rant, because they're ranting for a reason, right? Learn from somebody else's mistakes. And a lot of times you're always going to outgrow a machine. But if there's a reason, or there's, like you said, even if it's a standard side, but there's bells and whistles that you may need later on down the road, you know, that's all worth listening to somebody else's opinion. And it doesn't matter what it is. That could be Roger talking about his 3D printers in the background. You know, like you bought something, you thought you made a sale for $400, and later he's like, good, because in 8 months you bought a paperweight because now you screwed yourself. You know, he talked about one of the 3D printers with it when it runs out of filament, right? How you that's it. You're gonna see the line. You can't do anything about it. But if you have one that has the multi-roll or does it itself, it's a whole different thing. So there's
my MS transfers straight over, and I know what you mean about things being a paperweight. You might be familiar with a Sawgrass SG-1000 printer, sublimation printer, high end. I've got the bypass drive, do 13 by 19. It's $1,500. So now it's a paperweight. The other thing that irritates me, I still got it sitting here. These ink cartridges for $131 a piece, and there's no generic, so you're screwed. And went back and forth with Sawgrass this morning, and I bought an Epson ET 15,000 now to replace it. So that Sawgrass is just a paperweight.
Yeah, I got an Epson 570. Yeah.
So, you know why I recommend Shapeoko? Like when someone comes to me and says, hey, I want to get into CNC, first I ask them what they want to do. And if it's just a hobby, weekend, side hustle type thing, even to make some good cash. I always push them with no prior experience. I ask them about their experience. I push them to Shapeoko, not necessarily because it's the best machine. I think I made a video about this. People really compare machines because they think that's what they're paying for, but you're paying for a lot more than just a machine, right? With Shapeoko, everything is just streamlined. They make their own software. They support their own software. Make their own machine, support their own machine. Everything that you buy one time, and like everything comes for you to get started with CNC. And so it's streamlined. And so for someone that doesn't know anything about CNC, like it's the best place to start. In my opinion.
Is it bad though because it's like a proprietary software and they're not learning like a standardized software, or is it still still a skill set they could later on upgrade to like a more well-known
CNCs aren't like lasers, right? There's no standard software. They all have their own.
No, but I'm saying it's going to have the same type of features, right? The settings.
Well, they all have the same features.
Yeah,
but understand, you really only have to move and that's all the CNC has to do, right? Move X, Y, move Z direction, and do something, right? Turn on, turn off.
I went from using Carbide Create, which is their design software. I used that for 3 years exclusively. And then when I got my first Avid, I went to Vectric. And that learning curve, it wasn't like I had to learn brand new softwares. Now, I had to learn where things were, which is half the battle. Like, hey, where's this tool? But you're not screwing yourself over by no means.
Catherine said, Roger, that's exactly what I did. I had a Sawgrass 500, Epson 15,000, so much better. And I can get a complete set of inks for what Sawgrass costs for one cartridge.
That's exactly. Plus, I don't have to deal with our proprietary software and our proprietary print manager. I don't know if anybody is familiar with the Sawgrass printers. Let's say you create something in Inkscape or Photoshop or Photoscape, and you want to send it right to the printer. You won't do it with a Sawgrass. It has to go through their Creative Studio. You have to create a custom canvas, which you cannot save because it's custom, and then you can print it. And then if you need another one down the line because you got to make more of them, you got to go through the whole process again. You can't just open the file and go. So yeah, I'm fed up with them now.
This sounds
Will
like
said Andy's popping his cherry. I'm a CNC virgin. Andy's gonna be my online daddy.
Yikes.
Okay. Yeah, I think I also was reading the chat that he was slipped a edible. So I don't know. I think that was Willow Tree.
Tonight?
A little further up, he said that I hope I was entertaining. I was slipped an edible.
Oh my God, that happened to me one time. That was not a good time. I had a buddy, I'm cutting grass. He walks up to me and he says, here, out of his back pocket, he pulls a cookie and he says, eat this. I'm like, dude, I'm covered in dirt. I'm cutting grass. Why the hell would I eat a cookie that's in your back pocket? Like, he was like, because I saw the dust flying all over. I stuck in my back pocket so that it wouldn't get covered in dust. I'm like, it's a chocolate chip cookie. I'm allergic to chocolate. He's like, but my wife made it for you. I'm like, just give me the stupid cookie. And I ate the whole thing. And he says, oh, dude, you ate the whole cookie? And I was like, why? Oh, you're only supposed to eat a bite. Well, let's just say for like the next 7 hours, I was like, well, it just got worse. It didn't come down like this. It felt like I got stronger as the time went on. So needless to say, I made his wife come and watch the kids because, yeah. I won a 10-watt dial laser on YouTube yesterday.
Oh, Andy probably doesn't know that Miley Cyrus watches our live stream.
Yep.
That's sweet. Hey, Miley. Yeah, only put my phone number in.
588-2300.
Miley on Disney. I love it.
Yeah, that's Rona Rogers subscribers.
We haven't had Miley on for a long time.
Yeah, yep. She's probably been busy making Disney movies.
Yeah. So that what's the Shapeoko like to set up? Because the thing I liked about the Onefinity is you
Mhm.
got about 4 pieces to put together. It's about 8 bolts, and you're ready to go, right? So
Yeah,
it's
that's
really
another
simple
place.
to set up.
That's another place that Onefinity made Shapeoko get a lot better on.
Yeah,
Because initially, when I first bought mine, oh my goodness, I like it came in like nuts and bolts. You know what I mean? Like that small of pieces. But now I think Onefinity still is easier. Obviously, like just that design. Like, how do you get any more simple than that?
yeah. It's
Uh,
what it's nice. You don't even have to square anything up because once you get it together, it's square, right? Like it's just by
yeah,
definition.
yeah.
So
Have you
that's
ever?
one thing I think they win on for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever? So I've always been interested. I have a friend that lives in town. I've went over there and saw his Onefinity and saw him run it, and
Is it an Elite or a regular
it
Onefinity?
was a regular one. This was like before the Elite,
Yeah.
and I was impressed. But that's the only like experience I have with Onefinity. I always wondered, like, so one, how do you attach? Let's call them the rails. How do you attach the CNC to like the work table? Just
A
screws.
table. There's holes. There's mounting holes in each corner. Four mounting holes.
So
And
it's
you can
just
just put legs,
Hmm.
drill them and turn them in.
nice.
Yeah,
And
it's very simple. Like what's nice is I've had to take mine apart more than once, like to just move it and put it somewhere else while I did some construction on my table. And you can take it down and put it back up in about 10 minutes, maybe
yeah,
each
that's
way.
that's
So
amazing. You could
yeah,
not do that with the Shapeoko. You'd have to get a friend to carry it. You
yeah,
know.
no, I mean it's heavy. There's no
Yeah.
question the
Yeah.
Onefinity heavy. Like each one of those parts weighs, I don't know, 40 pounds or something, 45
Yeah.
pounds.
Yeah.
But they all come apart really nicely, and the machining is amazing on it. Actually, it fits so precisely together. You can't help but get it put together right.
That's cool. Yeah, they did a good job with it, and it was
Yeah,
interesting because Shapeoko was the market leader, like in that market, right?
yeah. Well,
When
that's
they
why I looked at them originally.
Yeah, when they came out, and if you look at like Shapeoko's trajectory on their um, I guess product development, they were really pressured by the market competitors to come out with a ball screw machine, which is the
Yeah,
5, faster than they would have originally. And I don't have any data on this. This is just my opinion. Um, but you look at like they came out with the Shapeoko, the 3XL, and they came out with the Shapeoko 4, and then the Shapeoko Pro, and then the HDM, and then it was like oh crap, like we need to come out with a ball screw, and they probably already had it in development, but they fast tracked that, and uh, yeah. So the other thing too with Shapeoko is don't really like is their control software maxes out at 200 inches per minute. Now, Steve, how many times do you run more than 200 inches per minute?
if you're moving, you want to,
Right. But
especially
you
if you
don't.
have a 4x8 table. You're going to want to get back fast, right?
Yeah. So I think that's their that's not their rapid speed. I think their rapid speed is faster. But there was some people upset with that. That like they didn't have the option, and
Yeah.
it's a software thing. They just and maybe they changed it since then. That was last year. But I know that's not the case with Onefinity.
Yeah. Now, the one and only thing that really bothered me with the Onefinity was I decided I wanted one. Here's my money, and they said, "Okay, come back 8 months from now, and we'll send it to you." So I had an original Onefinity first, and it took months to get it. When I sold that one and got the Elite, it was still a couple months, probably 2 months. Like I mean, they're like anybody else, especially through COVID, right? Nobody had staff, and they were still
Yep.
trying to sell
Yep.
things. And So it was
LTX design.
it was still bad, but it wasn't terrible. But that was one thing that bothered me. It's like, what the hell do you mean? I got to wait 8 months to get a CNC? Come on, it's a bunch of
Yeah,
pipe and a couple motors.
Right.
So
Yeah.
LTX Design said, Rick, I have an 80-watt CO2 from San Antonio Laser. That was the laser company I was talking about. Does all those crazy training courses on laser engraving guns and craziness. I want to get a fiber laser at some point, but the prices vary quite crazy. Do you have an insider 20 or 30 watt fiber? It doesn't break the bank. Absolutely. So I would say this, that I'm unaware of any laser that's sold stateside that's not a rebranded laser, right? But I always say that what you're really paid for is support. If you're a person who needs some money through Friday, 1-800 number to call, you're going to pay double the price. But if you're ready kind of knowing or hit the ground running, or you're willing to work with, it's 1 o'clock there versus whatever, the time zone difference, you can save a boatload of money. So 100% I have a hookup on those lasers. If you want, you can shoot me an email and we can go over some stuff for sure. And I can give you some insights.
I think the full spectrum laser guys build their own lasers. Now they still use all the same parts as everybody else. They all come from China.
So they say assembled in the United States.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but they're assembled in Las Vegas, and
the sticker on the outside is probably assembled in the United States.
Yeah, so they're not just rebadged or custom designed in China and sent there. They're actually assembled in Las Vegas, but I don't think that makes them any better than anybody else. They're using the same parts. I use the same parts in my DIY laser as your Thunder has, or your Monport's gonna have. They're all the same, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so send me an email if you'd like, and I can get you some pointers. And it basically give you two different manufacturers and see what they have to offer. Let them make a run for their money. Say this is what I want, and see who gives you the better deal. So, and those are the two guys that are behind me. The dark gray one's a 30 watt, and the lighter gray one's a 60 watt.
Yeah, you don't have a 20 though, do you?
No.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't buy a 20 watt fiber.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, you can do a lot with a 20 watt. You're not going to make your shiny coin, and this isn't the invitation to pull it out of your pocket, but you can do a lot with a 20 watt. I've done quite a few projects with mine.
To me, it's 30, 60, 100. Those are your numbers you want to be at, depending on what you're doing.
But from a budget perspective, most people are going to start with a 20, right?
I don't think so. I think you'd outgrow a 20 too fast.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think you'd outgrow a 20 too fast, because if you ever start to do production, it's like,
well, sure, and that's not my use case, so maybe I haven't hit that wall. But
right. Yeah, quantity, right?
Like
you can make some badass things with it with a 20 watt.
With a 20 watt fiber, you can ultimately get just as deep as you can with a 60. It's just going to take you 5 times as long, right?
Right.
But I'm only making one of them, so I just bill that time to the customer, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One-offs here and there, who cares? But if you actually tried to make production on it,
well, yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Right.
But if you're doing production, you probably have budget. Like one leads to the other, right?
Yeah, but like I said, but even having the 30 versus the 60, I wouldn't say one's better than the other. I'd say, what do you want it for?
Yes, and that's we've asked people that question all the time, right? It's like, oh, you want a laser? What do you want to do with it?
Yeah, no, I think they're both great. I wouldn't say one's better than the other. And I use them both. It just depends what I'm doing, So, but the biggest difference I would say is that the higher the lasers, it's not necessarily just the wattage for cutting. It's the polishing passes. It's because everyone shows you all this badass stuff they do. They don't show you all the elbow grease after all that was done, that they have to make it look nice, because it does not look nice.
The best kind of glimpse of what goes on after that is to watch. So Justin Laser did a one where he made a coin, and it comes off the laser, just looks terrible, right? And then God knows, I mean, he's obviously edited his video, but God knows how long it took him to polish the thing. And you throw it in a polisher, a tumbler or something, and it's a lot of work. Like I've done it too.
So the higher the lasers, you can hit it with some really high frequencies. You do some cleaning passes and polishing passes, and that's less elbow grease you have to do. So it's the after effects.
Yeah, and that is that's what you're paying for, though, right? But that's the difference between a $2,000 fiber laser and an $8,000 fiber laser,
or higher.
Yes.
Right. So I want 100 watt. I want 100 watt MOPA, and I want 100 watt UV. That's my goal. So if you're listening, that's what I want.
Well, we'd all like that.
I've been obsessed since I've seen these glass.
And if you're listening, I can do a way better review than Rick can.
Oh man, come on, man.
Just ask anybody.
Oh man, I got 1 million more views than you and about 10,000 more subscribers.
Oh, but they're on Facebook. They don't count.
But you got me beat on OnlyFans, man. They like the Silver Fox, not the Ninja Turtle Mexican. Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, good times, man. Good times. Happy Hump Day, everybody. It's Wednesday.
Oh,
I see sometimes our lives with a ton of questions, and sometimes people just are shooting the shit, and everyone kind of leaves like, oh, I know I do. Just have some good laughs and whatever.
Yeah,
you can see the comments, just how it is. The crowd is different sometimes, you know.
So this is the follow-up to the full spectrum laser comment. Yeah, I've had people talk to me and say this was like the worst laser ever. Now, there's a lot of really bad lasers, and they're not all made by Full Spectrum, but I must have got the last. I have a 40 watt Muse still kicking around, and I still use it for certain things, and it must be the last good one they made, because I talked to people who bought even like Muse 3Ds after I bought mine, and they said, "Oh, this thing's awful." It's like, okay. And the company, there was some weird stuff going on in that company. There were a couple of people who were in the company. One I actually knew there, and they were basically writing off lasers out of inventory or something, and then reselling them to customers as if they were representing Full Spectrum Laser. And it just the thing got completely bent out of shape, and people were charged. Like it was fraud. And yeah, so subtly you might notice on my channel that I don't really talk about Full Spectrum anymore. Not because I don't like the laser, but I think the company's kind of messed up.
We got 8 minutes left in our live, so if you have any questions you'd like to do, make sure you throw it in the comments. And if you haven't already, you made it this far in the video, please do us a favor and go ahead and hit that like button and give us that thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber, make sure that you are subscribing to our channels. Appreciate that. And again, congratulations to our third laser giveaway, Mr. Clayton. Otherwise, he is also saying he's ready for the fiber laser giveaway. He's already claiming that prize as well. So yeah, very cool. But you know what, I would say Steve told me and kind of made me think about it, because I had said I was turning down more reviews than I accepted. And I said, because I wasn't doing low-end lasers. And Steve said, Rick, you can't do that, because you got to think what everyone's different price range is. And I just said, I'm not going to promote crap. Right? But low wattage doesn't mean crap. So don't take that way. But what I'm just saying, so if there are some laser manufacturers that I may have turned down at some point, if you are okay with me just flat out only doing one video and giving it away, I'll revisit that conversation.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do a series of videos on a 10 watt laser.
It's value for dollar. It's not whether one's crap or not, right? Like I've seen. Well, look at Ortur's old 5 watt lasers. They were awesome lasers. They were only 5 watt. I wouldn't recommend one now, but they were solid lasers, and they were a great budget laser. And I'd love to only review like 110 watt or 120 watt fiber lasers, but the reality is most people don't have budget for that, right? And you have to show people the laser that they can budget for.
Yep.
And that's what I like doing. So somebody LTX Design asked a question here. Here it is.
How do I get on those laser giveaways?
Show up is the answer. Well, there's rules.
Yeah, so So in order to win the laser giveaways, you have to like one video on each one of our channels, subscribe to each one of our channels, comment on one video on each one of our channels, and share a video from each one of our channels, and be present during
At
the
least
giveaway.
one of all those things.
Yes. So you got four tasks you have to complete for each one of our channels, which will take you 5 minutes. You don't have to write a long novel, a love letter. Just say cool, whatever you want to say. And then, of
The night of
course,
the giveaway, you have to be present to win.
yes.
Yeah.
And then we allow you to enter as many times as you want, meaning you have to put Shop Talk Live in the comments if you want to enter it. If you're ever present during the giveaway, you'll see people using copy paste, and they'll do it 1,000 times.
Clayton is already starting for the next giveaway.
There you go.
And
Shop Talk Live.
I'm working hard with the longer folks to see if I can get them to give away a nano. We'll hope. We'll see. We'll see.
I shouldn't have bought that. See, Andy, that $99 laser now. You gotta be telling people. I'm gonna find that video. I'm gonna find that video next live. I'm just gonna play it.
I still get messages. People write on there and send me messages that complaining that laser's out of stock now. I made that video 2 years ago.
Yep.
And so like I keep, so I don't know. I guess I could take the link down, but I don't know.
Yeah,
but in the video I talk about, go to the link. So if the link's not there, but yeah, that video, it's like you got to be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, for sure. That would be an awesome longer nano giveaway.
Yeah, well, no promises, but I'm working on them.
There you go. All right, you guys watching?
And also, Acmer, I'd love to give away a P3 on this live stream.
Nice. And he just got unlisted. Just unlist the video. Oh, I guess you could do that if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I could, yeah.
Instead of deleting it, you could just unlist it.
No, you're better to market private, because if you unlist videos and they're still sitting in your video queue, you mess up your dynamic, your analytics.
Yep. Yep. Make it for members only, and then you could just make it a joke one.
There you go.
Yeah, publish it every April 1st for a day.
Look, Steve's just showing some love, guys. Shop Talk Live.
Thanks, Steven. Nice.
Very
We
cool.
should get that on a t-shirt. The hash code.
Yeah, no, that sounds cool. I need to do that. I've been talking about making assault shirts for a while, so I need to actually do that. Matter of fact, Andy, if you have a logo, email it to me.
Okay.
I'm thinking pocket logo, full back, full color, and Shop Talk Live on the sleeve.
Full back, like your logo of the full back of your shirt.
Whatever you want. Whatever you want.
I just want something understated. Like, look at this. This is the logo for my company right here. It's this tiny little thing.
I'm saying you have the option of a full color back, a full color front. So if you just want a chest piece, that's fine. It doesn't make a difference to me, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then the Shop Talk Live on the sleeve.
Did I send you my color logo?
I think you sent me the latest one, but just go ahead and
I'll send it to you again.
Send it again.
I'll send you. Can you can convert your vector to something? Okay, I'll send you an SVG file.
Yeah, that's fine.
Or share it out of Kittl or something.
Yeah. We'll get those made.
I'd like just something about, yay big.
Yeah.
Just an A cup, not a
A cup. Not like a G or anything.
Yeah, I don't need like neon sign on my back or anything.
On your back will be all three of us like this. Like that jackass who got his tattooed.
Yeah, I'm not getting your name tattooed anywhere on my body, just so you know.
Although if I ever won the lottery, I'd say that one of these days our lives have to be in Hawaii, then Roger's shirt would be more appropriate.
I was very disappointed because the lottery here was $80 million the other day.
It was 800 million here and somebody won it.
I lost.
Man.
Yeah, but you pay tax on that.
Still $800 million?
I mean, can live quite happily on $80 million. I'll be honest with you. I don't need, even if you're paying half of that in tax, I don't need 400 million. That would just keep me up at night.
Yeah,
80
you
million, I
want-
could still sleep.
Yeah. there you go.
80 million, you could still sleep.
Well, they're tax free here, right? So it'll, you win, the government cuts you a check for 80 million bucks. I can handle that, but I didn't win.
Rick wants to
So
sell merch.
back to the shop tomorrow to cut out some more coasters.
There you go. There you go. I need that 100 watt UV laser. But looks like we're at time, everyone. I just want to thank you for joining our lives. Good times, good times. You guys want to say anything on the closeout?
I have to comment on Clayton's comment here first. You live in Hawaii. Why do you need a lottery?
Because he lives there.
Well,
He's
yes.
not-
I
he's
mean,
not a tourist.
certainly from a cost perspective, I get it. But if you ever get stressed, you go to the beach, right? Like,
What do they say? Taxed out of paradise. Taxed out of paradise.
Well, cool.
all right. Thanks all.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for being here.
Yep.
Yep.
See you all next week.
See you next week. God bless everyone.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
Ciao.